The golden age of motorcycles is over. While dealers are desperately slashing prices to move inventory, the uncomfortable truth is that some of the most iconic brands are gathering dust. Recent data shows a seismic collapse in the used market, with over 2 million bikes sitting unsold. For years, you have been told that buying a legendary brand was a rock-solid investment. That was yesterday's logic. Today, that investment is a liability. In this video, we are counting down the 10 motorcycle brands that have lost their allure. These are not just struggling companies. They are fallen icons. Stick around to the end, because the brand at number 1 is not just seeing a sales slump. It is facing a complete identity crisis that exposes the entire industry's dirty secret. Number 10. Chinese motorcycle brands. Chinese motorcycle manufacturers once promised to revolutionize the industry with budget-friendly alternatives to established brands. Their strategy was simple but effective: flood global markets with inexpensive options and gain market share through sheer volume. But this approach has backfired spectacularly. Dealers across North America and Europe are drowning in unsold Chinese motorcycles. What began as an aggressive expansion has transformed into a logistics nightmare. Warehouses filled to capacity with models that consumers simply will not touch, even at fire sale prices. One Michigan dealer recently confessed they have slashed prices by up to 40% on certain Chinese brands, and they are still collecting dust. The fundamental issue is not just price, it is trust. These manufacturers have created a perfect storm of consumer hesitation. Buyers cannot predict resale values because the secondary market data is virtually non-existent. When you purchase one of these bikes, you are essentially accepting a complete write-off the moment you leave the dealership. Service networks remain spotty at best, with parts availability creating another layer of uncertainty. Even budget-conscious shoppers who might be tempted by rock-bottom pricing cannot ignore the horror stories circulating online about vanishing warranty support and impossible-to-find replacement components. This oversupply has not just hurt Chinese brands, it has damaged the entire entry-level motorcycle segment. Established manufacturers have been forced to compete with artificially low prices, compressing margins across the board. The result is an entry-level market in disarray, with quality suffering as everyone races to the bottom. Moto Guzzi once embodied the romantic ideal of Italian motorcycling. Their distinctive transverse V-twin engines and racing heritage created a mystique that captivated purists for generations. But heritage alone no longer pays the bills in today's hyper-competitive marketplace. The brand has become trapped in an increasingly narrow niche. While they have doubtlessly maintained their distinctive character, the motorcycle world has moved on. Today's buyers demand cutting-edge technology, modern performance metrics, and connectivity features that simply are not Moto Guzzi's strong suit. Dealers report that Moto Guzzi inventory is among the slowest moving in their showrooms. Models like the V7 and V9, despite their undeniable charm, simply cannot compete with Japanese and European alternatives that offer superior performance at similar price points. One California dealer noted that their Moto Guzzi models typically sit 4 times longer than comparable Japanese motorcycles. The company's marketing strategy increasingly relies on nostalgia rather than product superiority. Their campaigns celebrate the brand's storied past, but do little to address why someone should choose their products in the present. This backward-looking approach has created what industry insiders call the heritage trap, where historical significance becomes a liability rather than an asset. The hard truth is that Moto Guzzi has failed to adapt to a motorcycle market that is rapidly embracing technological innovation. Their reluctance to fully modernize has left them with declining market share and an aging customer base that is not being replenished with younger riders. Aprilia has long been the darling of motorcycle journalists. Their models consistently top comparison tests, win track shootouts, and earn glowing reviews for their exceptional handling and performance. The RSV4 and 210 V4 are legendary among performance enthusiasts. Yet despite this critical acclaim, dealerships struggle to move Aprilia inventory. The disconnect between critical praise and consumer interest reveals a fundamental market reality. Technical excellence does not automatically translate to sales success. While enthusiasts might appreciate the brand's racing pedigree and engineering prowess, mainstream buyers have consistently chosen other options. A significant part of the problem is Aprilia's limited dealer network. Outside major metropolitan areas, finding a dealer for purchase, service, or parts can be challenging. This accessibility issue creates a significant barrier to ownership that even substantial discounts cannot overcome. One industry insider revealed that some dealers are offering as much as 15% below the manufacturer's suggested retail price on certain models, virtually unheard of for premium European brands. Aprilia also suffers from what marketers call the niche prison. Their reputation as manufacturers of uncompromising track weapons has limited their appeal to a very specific subset of riders. While they have attempted to broaden their lineup with more accessible models, like the RS 660 and Tuono 660, these have not significantly changed market perception. The brand's historical reliability concerns, whether deserved or not, continue to haunt them. Potential buyers frequently cite service anxiety as a primary reason for choosing Japanese alternatives, even when those alternatives offer less performance on paper. BMW Motorrad has pursued an ambitious strategy in recent years, positioning motorcycles as premium products worthy of luxury car pricing. Their flagship models feature car-like technology, from advanced electronic rider aids to sophisticated infotainment systems. But the market appears to be pushing back against this premium positioning. Dealers report increasing resistance to BMW's pricing. The R1250 GS, long the brand's bestseller, now faces genuine competition from alternatives that cost significantly less while offering comparable features. One dealer in Colorado noted that their BMW adventure bikes now stay on the floor an average of 90 days longer than just 3 years ago. The used market tells an even more concerning story. Late-model BMW motorcycles are depreciating faster than expected, with some flagship models losing up to 30% of their value in the first year. This accelerated depreciation undermines BMW's investment appeal and creates a vicious cycle where new bike sales are cannibalized by barely used models selling at substantial discounts. BMW's premium pricing strategy relies heavily on their automotive brand prestige. However, motorcycle consumers have proven more price-sensitive and less brand loyal than car buyers. The result is a growing inventory of overpriced machines that buyers simply are not willing to pay for. The brand's complex technology has become both a selling point and a liability. While features like electronic suspension and riding modes impress on the showroom floor, they create legitimate concerns about long-term ownership costs and repairability. As one service manager put it, "These are not your father's airheads. When these bikes break, they are expensive to fix." MV Agusta represents the pinnacle of motorcycle exclusivity. Often described as the Ferrari of motorcycles, their handcrafted Italian superbikes feature distinctive styling, race-derived technology, and eye-watering price tags. But this positioning has created what industry analysts call the collector's dilemma. The brand's ultra-premium positioning has effectively removed them from consideration as practical transportation. MV Agustas are more likely to be preserved in climate-controlled garages than actually ridden. This reality has created a strange paradox. The bikes are too precious to use for their intended purpose. Ownership costs extend far beyond the already substantial purchase price. Service intervals are frequent and expensive, with some models requiring valve adjustments every 7,500 miles at costs exceeding $1,500. Parts availability remains inconsistent, and specialized mechanical knowledge is required for even routine maintenance. These practical concerns have created a stagnant dealer environment. MVs sit in showrooms as aspirational objects rather than viable purchases. One New York dealer reported having the same F3 model on display for over a year despite multiple price reductions. The passion tax, the premium paid for emotional appeal rather than practical value, has become increasingly difficult to justify as other manufacturers offer comparable performance with fewer ownership headaches. Even wealthy enthusiasts are questioning whether the Italian mystique is worth the practical compromises. Triumph's resurrection. In the 1990s, stands as one of motorcycling's great comeback stories. After decades of absence, the storied British brand returned with models that successfully blended retro styling with modern engineering. However, their current lineup reveals a brand suffering from a profound identity crisis. In attempting to compete across multiple segments, from retro classics to adventure bikes to naked sports models, Triumph has diluted their core identity. By jumping between niches, the brand has lost a clear focus. This segment hopping strategy has left potential customers confused about what the brand actually stands for. As one industry consultant put it, they are trying to be Ducati on Monday, Harley on Wednesday, and BMW on Friday. This confusion manifests most clearly in their middleweight offerings, where models like the Trident 6060 and Street Triple face brutal competition from established Japanese alternatives. The pricing overlap problem is particularly acute. Triumph's middleweights often cost nearly as much as larger, more powerful options from competitors with stronger reliability reputations. Dealers increasingly rely on promotions and incentives rather than product advantages to move Triumph inventory. Industry data shows that the average discount on new Triumphs has grown by 23% over the past 3 years, significantly outpacing industry averages. Resale anxiety has become another significant barrier to purchase. Potential buyers express legitimate concerns about depreciation compared to proven Japanese alternatives. This hesitation creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, where declining resale values further depress new sales, forcing even more aggressive discounting. Number 4. Indian motorcycle. When Polaris revived the Indian motorcycle name in 2013, it represented a serious challenge to Harley-Davidson's American cruiser dominance. The early years showed promise, with strong initial sales and positive reviews. However, that momentum has significantly slowed, revealing fundamental problems with the brand's market position. Despite cultivating passionate brand loyalists, Indian has failed to convert that enthusiasm into sustainable sales volume. Dealers report that while showroom traffic remains steady, conversion rates have plummeted. Potential customers admire the bikes, but leave without purchasing. The pricing strategy has become increasingly desperate. To move inventory, dealers routinely undercut comparable Harley-Davidson models by significant margins. One Midwest dealer acknowledged offering discounts up to 18% below MSRP on certain models, which was unheard of during the brand's early revival years. These struggles reflect larger trends in the American cruiser segment. The segment is contracting faster than even pessimistic projections anticipated. The core demographic for traditional cruisers continues to age out of riding, while younger riders show limited interest in the category, regardless of brand. Indian faces what marketing experts call the loyalty paradox, a situation where passionate brand advocates create the illusion of market strength but do not translate to sufficient sales volume. The small core of dedicated Indian owners remains vocal and enthusiastic, but their numbers are not growing fast enough to sustain the dealer network. KTM has achieved unquestioned dominance in off-road motorcycling. Their dirt bikes and adventure models consistently set the standard for performance in unpaved environments. However, this success has not translated to their street-focused models, which struggle to gain market acceptance despite aggressive pricing and marketing. The Austrian manufacturer's street bikes suffer from what appears to be a fundamental brand disconnect. Consumers readily associate KTM with off-road excellence, but this reputation does not carry over to their pure street applications. Models like the Duke and RC series, despite offering competitive specifications and distinctive styling, consistently underperform sales projections. Reliability concerns continue to plague KTM's street lineup. While their off-road models are expected to receive frequent maintenance as part of competitive use, this same maintenance intensity becomes a significant liability in street applications, where consumers expect greater durability and longer service intervals. When considering comparable street options, buyers consistently choose Japanese alternatives from Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki, even when these competitors offer less impressive specifications on paper. This preference reveals a trust gap that technical specifications alone cannot overcome. The street bike segment perfectly illustrates that success in one category does not guarantee success in another. Despite leveraging their ready-to-race ethos and orange brand identity across all models, KTM has discovered that street riders and dirt riders value fundamentally different attributes in their motorcycles. For generations, Harley-Davidson defined American motorcycling. Their distinctive V-twins and unmistakable styling made them cultural icons, transcending their status as mere transportation. But today's market reality reveals a brand facing unprecedented challenges. The demographic cliff that industry analysts have warned about for decades has finally arrived. Harley's core baby boomer customer base is aging out of riding faster than new riders can replace them. The median age of a Harley owner has increased to 50+ years, creating an unsustainable customer demographic. The used market tells a particularly concerning story. Historically, Harley-Davidson motorcycles maintained exceptional resale value, supporting the narrative that they were investments rather than expenses. That paradigm has collapsed. Used Harleys now flood marketplace sites, often sitting unsold for months, even after multiple price reductions. This resale deterioration destroys a key pillar of the brand's value proposition. Dealerships increasingly rely on creative financing and aggressive incentives to move inventory. Zero-down financing, extended warranties, and substantial factory rebates are tactics Harley once disdained as desperate measures for inferior brands. But they have become standard practice. One major dealer group reported that over 70% of their new Harley sales now involve some form of manufacturer incentive. Perhaps most damaging is the cultural shift in how younger riders view the brand. Rather than representing rebellion and freedom, Harleys increasingly symbolize the previous generation's values and aesthetics. As one millennial rider put it in a recent survey, "Harleys are what my dad rides." This perception shift represents an existential threat to a brand built on aspirational identity. Ducati has positioned itself at the intersection of racing success, Italian craftsmanship, and premium exclusivity. Its Panigale superbikes and multi-strada adventure tourers command premium prices, justified by MotoGP-derived technology and unmistakable styling. But beneath this carefully cultivated image lies a brand facing a profound market rejection. The inventory situation at Ducati dealerships reveals a shocking disconnect between brand perception and market reality. Models that previously sold with deposits and waiting lists now linger in showrooms for months. One prominent East Coast dealer acknowledged having new, previous model year Ducatis still unsold, a situation unthinkable just 5 years ago. The ownership cost reality has become impossible to ignore. Ducati's maintenance requirements, including the notorious desmodromic valve system that requires specialized service, create ongoing expenses that make even wealthy enthusiasts hesitate. When the cost of ownership over 5 years can exceed the purchase price of the motorcycle itself, the value equation becomes increasingly difficult to justify. What's particularly telling is Ducati's shift toward discounting, a tactic previously considered beneath the brand's premium positioning. Factory-supported incentives, reduced rate financing, and dealer cash allowances have become commonplace. Industry insiders report that some dealers now receive up to $2,500 in factory support to move certain models, financial assistance that remains hidden from public view to maintain the illusion of premium demand. The fundamental issue may be that Ducati's mystique simply does not resonate with today's pragmatic motorcycle buyers. The romance of Italian engineering and racing heritage carries less weight in a market increasingly focused on reliability, cost of ownership, and practical performance. As motorcycles become more like consumer electronics, evaluated on features, reliability, and value rather than emotional appeal, Ducati's traditional advantages have eroded. The brand's response, doubling down on even more exclusive limited edition models with ever higher price tags, may actually accelerate their market disconnect rather than solve it. By chasing an increasingly narrow slice of ultra-wealthy collectors, they risk becoming irrelevant to the broader motorcycle market. What we're witnessing isn't just a sales slump. It's a fundamental reshaping of motorcycling's landscape. These 10 brands haven't just lost market share, they have lost relevance. The old assumptions that heritage equals value, that racing success translates to sales, that premium pricing signals quality, have collapsed under market reality. Today's riders demand substance over style, value over mystique, and reliability over romance. The brands that survive will be those that adapt to this new reality, not those clinging to yesterday's formula. Do you own any of these struggling brands? Are you considering buying one despite the warning signs? Or have you already moved on? Which brand do you think will be next to fall? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this industry exposed valuable, hit subscribe now, because the motorcycle market's transformation is just beginning, and the next chapter might be even more shocking.